What is going on, everyone? So my name's Slender, and I've been playing New World since beta. I actually, quit during the beginning of the beta. And I thought, this game's no different than any other MMO out there. There's already MMOs that have done this, been there, done that, and I was less than impressed. Never planned on coming back. And then I did. And I couldn't be happier that I decided to come back and made that decision to give it another shot, because this is probably one of the best MMOs I've ever played. It does have its problems, it does have its issues, but today I'm here to tell you and give you guys some insight on how far the game has come. It has definitely grown some legs and can walk on its own. And between the start and the release of this game and now, it has increased dramatically. And personally, having played WoW, Final Fantasy XIV, all the great MMOs, I can tell you with confidence that New World is an amazing MMORPG. And if you haven't tried it yet, now is an excellent time to come back. And if you've left because of a lot of the issues that it had in the past, I'm going to give you guys a list of things that have changed and improved. And maybe you guys can make a decision and, come give it another shot. You paid for the game. If you put it down a while ago, like I said, you've already paid for it. Might as well come back and see what's changed. And I think you'll be happy that you did. So without further ado, we're going to take a dive into all the updates and amazing improvements that this game has had and has come out with over the past 5 or 6 months. So let's get right into it. One category that this game really shines is the gathering, refining, and crafting. But one thing that people were complaining about, because a lot of other games had this similar system, is once you hit level 200, which is the cap in any refining or crafting profession, there's really nothing to do after that. But now there is, and it's called the aptitude system. So once you hit the max level for any crafting or gathering profession, there's stuff that you can do after that, and bonuses and rewards that you can get as you keep climbing that, past 200 mark. So it really gives us, crafters something to do once we max out our levels. I'd call it a life skills improvement, definitely. Another thing that they've added to the game as far as PvP goes, because when this game first was being developed, it was going to be just everything was based on PvP, but they decided to change and do like a little bit of PvP or PvP and PvE. But they've added a whole new PvP mode called 3v3 arenas, and it has been so much fun, and it really gives you, that arena feel that has been missing for so long. So you can now get into some 3v3 arena action, and they're even thinking about doing some 1v1 stuff as well. Now, crafting in this game has to be one of the best crafting systems I've ever seen in a game, other than Final Fantasy. That one's great too, Final Fantasy XIV. But the crafting in New World is amazing. It's great. But there have been some changes that have needed to happen for a long time, and they are doing it right now. So currently in the PTR and coming soon in July, in the July update, you're going to be able to craft 598 to 600 gear range. And they're also giving you the ability to craft your own weaponsmithing gear and armor smithing gear and stuff like that. So a huge and great improvement for the game. So New World in the beginning used a system called the high watermark system to get better gear and get better weapons, and they've completely changed it. It was terrible. But now they have done a complete overhaul. You now have an expertise system, and you could see what your expertise is, and they give you so many new avenues that you can take to upgrade your gear and get better gear and better drops, and it just improved the gameplay so much. It is a great change. And on that note, as far as it comes to fishing, now I've complained about fishing in the past. I've written on the forums, I've submitted feedback. I even made a video called Suggestion Box, for New World, and some exciting changes I would like to see happen in the game when they have time. And, I know it's not because of the video, but a lot of people have been complaining about fishing, and it was just kind of stale. It was the only profession that I have not done yet, and I still haven't. I think my fishing is at like 20. Because it was just so boring and there was really no point to it. Well, they've buffed fishing a lot, and it's actually fun now. They're doing this event like I told you about earlier, and it really revolves a lot around fishing, and it's going to make fishing a lot of fun. You're going to actually be able to take your fish, which is one of the big complaints about fishing. And you're going to be able to take these fish and actually mount them and place them in your house. So it's definitely gotten a lot better since the start of the game. So fishing is actually going to be something I'm going to enjoy now. So those games where you're trying to get into a dungeon, but they don't have any system for it. You just have to spam in general chat or global chat, looking for group, looking for party. That's gone. They have finally, or they are adding a new dungeon finder, in a couple or to a few weeks with this new update they're coming out with July. So just like most other games, you're finally going to have a group finder to do these different activities and just make it so much easier for new players to get in these groups. Now, the dungeon finder coupled with the no more expedition keys is just going to make the new player experience so much better. Now, healing has been kind of a hot topic or hot subject when it comes to New World, but one thing that they have done, and they are trying to improve healing with every patch, but one thing they've done is they've added healing hotkeys, so it makes it easier to heal your teammates. They have also added different holiday events. So during Thanksgiving, we had an event where there's this giant turkey that you can kill, kind of like a world boss. During Christmas, there was a winter convergence festival or event where they added a bunch of different quest lines and different things that you could buy in this shop that you can't get any other time of the year. Skins, different weapons, all kinds of stuff, things for your house. And they're adding a new one for this summer event called the Summer Medley Fair. And they've really added a lot of exciting stuff to this one. You're going to be able to catch special fish, and a lot of it revolves around fishing. And they've also added musical instruments, which we'll talk about here in a second. But overall, I played on the PTR, and it just looks amazing, sounds amazing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, a really big one that people have complained about, and I have too, is Wars. When it first came out, Wars were terrible. They were so much fun, but they were so laggy and there was so much desync because all the people on the map, and it was a nightmare. But they are actually introducing, and they've made some improvements already, and you can tell a big difference, but they are adding or changing Wars to be instants. They're testing it on the PTR right now, and hopefully it's going to help, but it should be much, much better. So for all you guys out there that love Wars, you're going to hopefully be able to do it in a much, much easier, lag-free, way. So good things are coming for Wars. And another thing about Wars is normally you have to go all the way to the town where the war is going to be held and sign up on the war board. And same thing for invasions. But now, currently in the game, you can sign up for any war or invasion right from your map. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You could sign up at any time. New World also added a new resource to the game called Materia. And if you've ever played this game before and just got frustrated because you've done this dungeon 1,000 times and you still can't get this best healing staff called Will of the Ancients, well, they've created a way to break down your weapons and materials to get a new material called Materia, and you can now craft those named items that you've been trying to get forever. It takes a while to gather enough of the resource, and that can change, but you can now craft these weapons you've been longing for so long, and just RNG has not been on your side. That is not a problem anymore. So great improvement. Now let's talk about music. This is a huge one. If you haven't seen it, I made a video on it. Check it out. But they are adding musical instruments to the game. You can play the flute. You can play the guitar. They have a mandolin. You could play the drums or an upright bass, or basically a cello. And you can actually, it's kind of like a Guitar Hero mini game that they've added, and it is absolutely fun. You have to collect music pages to unlock new songs, and you can craft and find different instruments and different rarities and get buffs, and the instruments have bonuses. And the most exciting thing about the instruments is you can actually get like a rock band going and have 5 people in a group, and each person play a different instrument for the song. It is going to be amazing. You've got to check it out. And if you haven't, just wait for the update. It's going to be a lot of fun. And not only did they add new dungeons, but they've changed the dungeons, and they've introduced basically like a heroic mode where any of these old dungeons, and they're still adding more, but they've turned some of these old dungeons into mutated dungeons. And they've added 10 difficulty levels. So you can do mutation 1, mutation 2, and you can progress all the way up to M10 or mutation 10. And each difficulty obviously makes the dungeon harder. They add new elements. They add new dynamics to the dungeons. They may make the enemies explode upon death, or these silence zones, or different curses, and it adds a whole new perspective to these dungeons. And it also makes a lot of the older dungeons replayable because they're completely different when you go in. You know, you think some of these dungeons are hard, just wait till you get yourself into a mutated dungeon. So they've added a lot of replayability, if you will, to the game, and I really like it. And if nothing else, it gives you something to challenge yourself with, because they are much, much harder, but so much fun and so satisfying when you win. And if you have done all the dungeons in this game and then quit because the game either got stale or you just wanted something new, they've added 2 new dungeons, Tempest Heart and a brand new one that's coming with this new update, Barnacles and Black Powder. Or is it Black Powder and Barnacles? Whatever the case, they're a lot of fun. The dungeons look amazing. If nothing else, you got to come back and at least check out these new dungeons. They are absolutely beautiful, and different mechanics, different bosses, and it's really great. So that's definitely a big one on my list. Now, for all the new players out there and for all the people that have been playing this game since day one, leveling was a bit of a struggle getting from 1 to 60. You just hit like a brick wall around 40 or 50. It was insane. But I never had a problem with it myself. I did notice a slowdown, but they fixed that as well. So this game, if you're new to this game or thinking about picking it up, try it. The new player experience has been improved vastly with getting more experience, less experience required to get from 50 to 60, and new quest lines for new players and new activities for new players to do. It's just an overall increase in player experience, big time. Now, since New World has come out, they've added a new weapon called the Void Gauntlet. It's a heck of a lot of fun, and it complements a lot of the different weapons really, really well, especially the life staff when it comes to healing dungeons and things like that. And they're also going to be adding in the Greatsword, and there's a bunch of new weapons, that are going to be coming out eventually. But the Greatsword's next, and I absolutely cannot wait. And speaking of weapons, they are constantly, every patch, doing a lot of balancing when it comes to the weapons and abilities and perks. So, every game like this does have, some sort of balancing issue. New World is no different, but they are working on it, and they are constantly trying to balance things and just make it a better overall playing experience for everybody. Now, these next 3 all kind of tie into each other, but I want to talk about the fact that these devs are now doing monthly dev update, discussions and kind of videos on what to expect in the future, some of the changes they're making, and a lot of the bugs that they're fixing, and kind of giving us a roadmap of what to expect in the future. And on that note, the devs in this game, maybe not in the beginning, but they now are listening to player feedback 100%. There's only so much they can do in a given amount of time, but they are listening, and it shows in every single update. If you get on the PTR and submit feedback and enough people have similar suggestions, it's very likely to see that change implemented in the game. And speaking of updates, we're going to be finally getting a new zone here pretty soon, a whole new zone to explore. And if you've been in Aeternum and seen this game, you'll probably be as excited as I am, because it is a beautiful, beautiful game. Now, if any of you have played OPR or Outpost Rush, it's a game mode for PvP, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. But there was a lot of problems, and they've worked them out. They've made OPR or Outpost Rush so much more fun, and it just makes a lot more sense now, and there have been a bunch of improvements in it. There have been a lot of videos and a lot of patch notes on the changes in OPR, so I won't get into detail, but just know that they have completely revamped it and made it much better. Now, I kind of touched on weapon balancing and ability balancing. They're also reworking a lot of these weapon perks and ability perks to make them more relevant. For example, nobody wanted to get durability on their gear because it sucks, but they're changing durability to something called like indestructible, so that item will never take durability damage. So they are working on perks and just trying to make them better and just improve the experience for the players. And one big change with the perks is if you get an ability perk on your weapon, that effect is going to be magnified big time. So this should be a lot of fun. Another improvement to the PvP system is they reworked the PvP quest. Before, these open world PvP quests were pretty stale, and I'm not saying that they're the best I've seen, but they have improved them, they've made them more engaging, and it is a lot more fun now. Now, since the beginning, I've been complaining that this game doesn't have any world bosses or random spawned in, giant monsters to fight in the world, and they still really haven't added anything. And I always use Blessed Unleashed as an example of a great system that would just bring so much excitement to the game. And they've kind of did that a little bit with somebody called Rafflebones. Rafflebones is a random world spawn that drops really great loot, and it is so much fun. They're currently hopefully working on it a little bit because there's a couple kinks here and there, but overall Rafflebones has been a great addition to the game. And if you haven't found him yet, you're in for a treat. He is so much fun, and it is so exciting when you find him. Now, there's still no mounts in the game, and a lot of people don't want mounts, but a lot of people do, because it's tough and it takes a while to get anywhere on the map if you're not fast traveling. So one thing that they did is they actually increase your run speed for the player if you're on a road, so it makes it a little bit easier to get around. And on top of that, they've also made fast traveling much easier, so it's super easy to get around Aeternum now. The fast travel cost is reduced, and they've added a ton of new fast travel locations. So again, making it around the map is so much easier than it was in the very beginning. This is a big one, salvaging. Almost every game has some kind of salvaging or disenchant or, breaking down your weapons for different materials, and New World had nothing. All you can do is just salvage stuff for repair parts, and it was super stale, and it just was a terrible feeling salvaging these legendary items and only getting a little bit of coin and some repair parts. But they have done a complete salvaging overhaul. It is absolutely amazing. You can do so much with your old gear. It adds a whole new dynamic to the game, and I just applaud them for this one. This is a huge improvement. And if you want to see more details about that, I also have a video on the complete salvaging overhaul, and just take my word for it, it is amazing. Now, I used to play a game called Blessed Unleashed, and I couldn't play it anymore, even though it was a lot of fun and they had world bosses. I just couldn't stand the storage and inventory problems it had. You had to constantly, the whole game was just an inventory and storage management, and it was terrible. I had to quit, couldn't do it anymore. And New World, it didn't have the same storage problems, but it did have a storage problem. So this is one of the best things that I've seen in this game improve on. You can now access any storage. You can transfer stuff from any storage to any storage. Doesn't matter what faction you're in, doesn't matter where you're at. You can access and store stuff anywhere on the map, and it is just so much better. So this is something that a lot of people hated right off the bat, and that is expedition orbs that are required to enter and do a dungeon or an expedition. This caused a lot of hate on the game, and people just hated the idea that they had to craft, and spend all this time in making these basically keys to enter these dungeons, and those are completely gone. They have got rid of them. You no longer need to craft anything or buy anything. You can just go into any dungeon you want, as long as you meet the level requirements. So that is a huge improvement on this game. So you can now enter any dungeon you want without having any keys. Since the launch of the game, they have increased the gear score level to 625, and you can actually get your stuff from 600 to 625 by a new means called Umbral Shards. And you can get these Umbral Shards by doing various different things, and it allows you to upgrade your current weapons, gear that you find in the world. You can now upgrade it all the way to 625. It's not a huge change, but it definitely gives us high-level people that have everything, something to do and to keep grinding for. Now, I know this was a long video, and I'm sorry it took so long, but, if you're wondering, should I come back to New World? Is it worth playing in, as of July 2022? My answer is abso-freaking-lutely. If you haven't played it, get it. If you quit playing, come back. It is an awesome, amazing game, and it is 100 times better than when it first launched. So, my name's Slender, and I hope to see you guys in Aeternum. Take it easy.